Hi, and welcome to Wow Talk. I'm Donna Cappuccitti, a thriving cancer survivor.
And I'm her naturopathic doctor, Darlene Gustin. We're here to encourage, educate, and empower you on your journey to optimum wellness.
Hi.
Hi, how do we sound today?
Welcome. This is our first time in a real podcast studio.
And we're hoping that we sound better from your end, but we're having a lot of fun here, all dressed up in headphones and microphones and little rubber balls on the wall.
Yeah, and equipment. I'm having fun with sound effects and everything. And we think we're at a good level, our voice level. We don't really know, but I think it sounds good to us anyway. So hope it translates to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So what are we going to talk about today, Dr. Gustin?
Well, just this situation here inspired a suggested topic for us today, which was the importance of never stop learning as you age. So you find the most vibrant elderly patients with the highest mental functions who preserve their memory and energy and enthusiasm for life. It's because they're still doing things.
Yes.
You know, crossword puzzles, hobbies, photography, whatever. They revisit those passions that they had to put aside when they had young children, etc. And I find even for myself, as you know, I've just relocated my clinic and expanded and constructed a new location, and all my classmates are retiring. And I'm like, I'm only in my 50s. What are these people doing? And
wow.
Yeah.
They are retiring?
They are retiring. I have hardly any classmates who are still working. And I don't get it. I'm like, hello, it takes 30 years just to start being really good at what you do. Like, don't stop now.
Yeah. Like you could still like improving and even like really like blow it out of the water now. Right?
And reinvent it, right? You don't have to, in my profession, you don't have to always work the same way. So pre-COVID, I was starting to dabble a little bit in medical tourism, and I find I'm one of those people I'm an avid reader. I always want to try new things, and age is irrelevant to me.
You are always taking classes and courses. I am so impressed with that. That is one of the things I have noticed about you in all the years I've known you. And
Thank
it's
you.
great. Yes. And
I love it.
Yeah.
I think I'm spoiled rotten. I'm one of those people who genuinely loves what I do. And I think a lot of people are not in that same position. I had a patient this morning who's maybe around 70, and he was telling me how he retired from his business as a contractor, and he's not happy with nothing to do. And this is a theme I see often in my patients when they retire. It doesn't end up being as fun as they thought it would be. Maybe their partner hasn't retired, maybe they have. And when I look at my classmates, I'm thinking, you'd retire from this? This is fun.
That is so great. That's so great that you love what you do and that you find it fun. And it's great.
Yeah. And what do people like about retirement? Like, I think of it as like you want to rot in front of on a couch and watch TV all day. Like, what do people do all day? Like, I can understand if they're going to start gardening, or a lot of people, other patients of mine, they start a business and, you know, they used to be an engineer and now they do sculptures out of clay. So
yes, which is interesting, and I think that's what it is. We need to transition into the new phase of our lives. Let's revisit what you said in the beginning, things like crosswords or puzzles, or start like going back to revisit old hobbies, because I think we need to look at both the mental health and the physical. I mean, we know there's more than that too, but when I love the expression, use it or lose it.
Absolutely.
It's true, is it not?
It's very true. And in medicine, we used to think that the brain had a very short time limit, that you could learn and grow new things. And if you try to learn a new language at an older age, of course it takes longer, but you can still develop new connections in your brain, and you should. Just because it's a little harder, just because it takes a little longer, do it anyway.
Yes. And keep it stimulated. So let's talk about, the problems if you don't do it. Let's talk about the mental health first.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with mental health, a lot of that has to do with building relationships.
Yes. And
having that emotional health and that sense of community. There was a big study on quality of life and longevity, and it was a big study over a long period of time with a lot of people. And I love this study. I post it at least once a year on my social media. And you'd think, What's the number one thing that determines how well you live, how long you live? Is it because you smoke? Is it because you're a health nut? Is it because you take a whole bunch of vitamins? Is it because you run marathons? No, the number one on that list was having community.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So emotional relationships, quality ones, obviously. And that's what gets you off the couch and get
Yes.
outside and take yoga with a friend, go for a walk, be interested, be curious about life, get out there and do something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's great to be social.
Yeah,
as you said.
and some of my older patients need to learn to use how to use a computer, and they get very invested into their grandchildren, which is lovely. That's what should happen. But it can also be a two-way street, right? The grade school grandchild can teach the 70 to 80-year-old grandma how to use Facebook, how to take photos on an iPhone, how to share them. So it's a win-win. It's a multi-generational benefit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And that would be really something. I remember my mother, God rest her soul, she was really starting to get good on her iPad. And as I've mentioned before, she was a stroke survivor. So that was really good in more than one way, not only for as she was aging, but also to try to, get connections happening in the brain, because she had suffered from brain damage from
Yeah.
the clot.
For sure.
Yeah, so absolutely, that's a whole new world, and I love it when my mother's sister would text me. My mom never did do that, but I just thought it was great when my aunt in her 80s was sending me text messages. It was beautiful.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
My mother is 91 now, and she's a very vibrant 91, still living in our original family home, a 4-bedroom home, a garden.
Incredible.
She cooks, she cans, she makes jam, she knits, like it goes on forever. And a lot of the times when people say, "Oh, how's your mother doing?" I go, "She's fantastic. She's 91 going on 30." And so I aspire to be the same, but she's always had that same interest in people and activities and contributing and doing something, making something, cooking something. And I think that's a large part in her physical and mental health.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, and it's not just something I observe. There's science and studies behind what I'm saying.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so let's look at the physical part of it all. I'm finding myself, I did join a gym where the demographic is a bit older, and I absolutely love it. Prior to that, I wasn't really doing anything except running around. Like I didn't have a set time to work out or even go for walks. I was just kind of doing whatever when I could. And I will tell you that since I started doing this about 5 years ago, everything feels better. Like I used to have back pain because I had back injuries back when I was a figure skater. I had some issues, and they would always come back to haunt me, but they don't come back that often anymore. And when they do, I find that they go almost as quickly as they come, which is really interesting to me. Like it's like I'm oiling the machine. That's what I always feel.
You are.
Like I'm doing.
You are. And one of the things that happens to our body as we age is that our circulation isn't as robust as when we were younger. So to maintain that physical activity, you are encouraging the circulation of lymphatic fluids, that is your sewage system, and your circulation of blood. And joints by nature are an area of the body with a lower amount of circulation. So for you, with the history of figure skating, and I'm sure you've had your share of injuries and falls on the ice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so there's scar tissue, and people who've had car accidents or surgeries, etc., that exercise forces that circulation into those areas that are more stagnant. And that would be to deliver food so that things can heal. That would be to clear out the waste from those areas. So of course it's going to feel better. Of course you're going to maximize your range of motion and reduce your pain and inflammation. For sure.
Okay, and I am feeling all those things. And I would like to say that the reason I think I mentioned this about this gym is not only the demographic, but they give me a program tailored just to me. And also, it's not too hard. And I guess that's what I wanted to say, is that you don't feel like when we hear the word gym or trainer, we think, oh my goodness, they're going to work us really hard. It's going to be really tough on us. and be painful. But this isn't. It actually isn't. I love doing it. And I guess, you could do something, just walk each day, or, do your own little weights at home. It's anything you do is good. That's what I'm
Exactly.
finding. It doesn't have to be hard, and I'm improving every day just from what I'm doing, which, isn't that hard.
Yeah.
Have I mentioned that?
Yeah, and we started our talking more about the brain and mental, emotional health, and now we're talking more about the physical body. Well, guess what? It's the same body.
Yes.
And so for people who are having issues with mental health, like right now there's a huge amount of increase in patients diagnosed with mental health post-pandemic for many reasons. And it's been studied and known for decades that the number one most effective solution in medicine for depression is physical activity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always leave there feeling slightly better, if not much better. And they have a little chart where they want us to fill out, like, how do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10 when you go in? And then when you're leaving, you also put down your number. And I would say 90% of the time, my number's always higher when I'm leaving. It does make a difference for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and as I was saying, it doesn't matter. Well, I wasn't saying it that, but what I want to say is that it doesn't matter when you start. It's okay to start in your 50s or 60s, 70s. There's one gentleman there, I know he's in his 90s, and it's so great, and he comes for a half an hour, and I love seeing him there. It's so wonderful.
Yeah. And when I talk to my patients, I say, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a health nut. Just start walking in the right direction. Take a baby step. It doesn't matter. 10-minute walk, a 10-minute walk.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I wanted to comment about with mental and physical health is that in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been such a change in the North American lifestyle where we're so dependent on electronics. And so now we have tech neck, trigger finger, and all these diagnoses that are, connected to the use of prolonged sitting. Sitting is the new smoking.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also I find a lot of my patients who are students or who are still employed or have hobbies, it's all on the computer, and they're doing this in the evening. And there's a lot of health repercussions to that. It stimulates the brain, it reduces your melatonin, so it takes away from sleep quality. If you're slouching on your bed, on a laptop, etc., and the electromagnetic pollution that goes with that. So I think if we talk about quality of life and longevity, I think we have to also dramatically include time in nature. And again, mentally, physically, oxygen, and the beneficial electromagnetic fields of being outside. The negative ions, go to the beach, go to the forest, go on a walk, hug a tree, roll on the grass.
Yes, all of the above.
Yeah, it's called grounding. It's called grounding. So I have different ways that I can tell on a patient if they're affected by electromagnetic fields. And I've become increasingly concerned about electromagnetic fields and how they affect the body because it's not something that we can feel. And so I often measure that in patients and start educating them to be aware of avoiding exposure to electronics in the last 3 hours of their